Hi, it's Joshua here with Cold Rush. I'm here with.
And this is Alexander Matorin.
We're here to discuss cryotherapy. Alexander is one of I believe, the first person to bring cryotherapy to the United States.
It is correct.
And how did you get involved in cryotherapy to even be in the position to bring it to the United States? And when did that happen?
Okay, so cryotherapy is something which is a part of the concept of health I'm following up with. I'm a Ayurvedic practitioner. Ayurveda is antique Indian alternative medicine. I graduated Santa Fe Institute of Vedic Studies in 2008 in New Mexico, and cryotherapy it's a part of actually alternative medicine. I check on cryotherapy in the United States those days, and I found only one place where the cryo device actually was for sale. It was Ella Bubbles company from Chicago. They were selling Juka unit, um, and they didn't have it here in place, so you have to order it and pay up front the whole amount, which I decided not to go with. And that's how the idea to start importing the cryo into the United States came to my mind. So now coming back to the first part of the question, Ayurveda considered to keep in balance our main internal powers, which we named kapha or kapha, if you say it on the um, um, Indian way, pitta and vata. And cryotherapy, the way actually it's supposed to be provided to the people, it supposed to catalyze, or let's say to help to squeeze much more than in average uh, let's say procedure out of this balancing of these three main energy of our body. So that's why, being Ayurvedic lifestyle counselor, I decided to include in my practice everything which actually work with the low temperatures, and that's definitely cryo cabin itself, and also localized cryo devices which can be used for the local areas of our bodies.
And you actually founded a company and you make local cryo and whole body cryo devices, right?
To be more correct, the first company named Millenium-Ice was established to import the devices from Europe.
Oh, okay.
And then in 2013, after 2 years being importing devices into the United States, the first device was actually imported in 2009. It was, let's say, testing unit, just to start with. Then in 2010-11 we imported 15 devices, one out of which was shown on Dr. O's show on January of 2011. And then until 2013 we imported another 10, so in total of 25 devices since Millenium-Ice was established. However, these devices were made in Europe and they do not fit requirements of the United States authorities on electricity and safety measures. So, and of course, it was very hard to maintain them in a working condition because of the lack of components which must be replaced, because of the difference in the voltage. In Europe,
Yeah.
they have 220, 50 hertz, and here we have 110, 60 hertz. Then, because of all that combined discomfort, we decided to create American company, which will make American-made devices, which actually we achieved in February of 2013, and the name of the company was Majestic Cryo.
Nice. And did you discover cryotherapy when you were studying Ayurvedic? You know, you got a degree in Ayurveda in Colorado at some point when you first moved to the United States, or had you known about cryotherapy when you were living in Europe before?
Yeah, I definitely knew about cryotherapy much longer than I've been in the United States. So the first time I knew about cryotherapy, it was in the rehabilitation centers for the military veterans back in Soviet Union. So I'm talking about 1985-86.
Oh, okay. So Soviet Union used it for military veterans.
Not only for military and for the cosmonauts rehabilitation centers, which America calls astronauts.
Okay.
So actually, any type of rehabilitation. Um, Let me rephrase it. Most of the rehabilitation centers, which are also kind of a testing centers, which means not for the whole public opened. So they actually used cryo devices back in Soviet Union for PTSD and any other kind of disorders, including physical damages, inflammations, and such and such. So, in a parallel of that, I was studying Ayurveda and other alternative medicines. Being back in Soviet Union, then when I used to live in Cyprus, which is island in Mediterranean Sea, I used to live there for 6 years, and I continuously learn everything about alternative medicine, especially Ayurveda. When I arrived United States, I found over here the Institute of Vedic Studies in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where I continued my education, and in 2008 I graduated that institute and I got my certificate of Ayurvedic lifestyle counselor. So right after that, I decided to open the first center of alternative medicine, which was named as Vida Light. It was in Dallas, Texas, and there we actually put the first in the United States open for public cryo unit, which was made in Ukraine. It's an Eastern European country, and the name was Space Cabin.
Oh, wow.
That actually was the very first the very first cryo unit which was serving the folks in the United States openly, and the second one, which is also very important to say, was put in Beverly Hills with Dr. Kone, Jonas Kone, in 2010 on the 23rd of February. I remember this date, and that was the first one which started serving the high-end society, members of society, which are basketball players, Hollywood stars, like for example Kobe Bryant, which I'm very sorry he died recently, and
Remember, he didn't want anybody to know. He did it and he wouldn't tell anybody. It was his secret, is what.
Yeah, it was
Jonas
his secret. It was a lot of nice talks and discussions between us. He's a very nice person, and as I say, it's a big pity what was happened to him and his daughter. But it's important to know that from the very beginning of cryo practice in the United States, or let's say cryo industry in the United States, such people like Kobe Bryant and Demi Moore, they participated that place in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, and this kind of brings me to another point, because I now live in Santa Monica, and so I've gotten to know the younger brother of Jonas a little bit.
Oh yeah, Peter.
Yeah, yeah. Is it Peter?
No, I believe Peter.
Peter, I think, is the technician that works for Jonas. And
Robert, my apologies.
Yeah,
Robin,
yeah.
Robert.
And it's funny because my brother is 10 years younger than me, and Robin is 10 years younger than Jonas, but Robin is 10 years older than me. But they've actually made their own machine, and it's slightly different type of machine. And I wonder what do you think of the differences in these machines, like the the ones where it's a cabin where you walk in, where they take the nitrogen out and you breathe it, versus the way that you make them with the whole body cabins with the head above, and like could you describe a little bit of the differences for us? What do you think?
We definitely may talk about that. First of all, I'm not sure if they're making their own product. I know that they were importing Juka devices from Poland.
Yes, they still do that.
Yeah, and if they're making any other type of device, it's pretty much possible. However, there could be only three main type of these devices. So, and definitely we will not be able to go deeply inside all these details, which you can find in that my little book that describes cryo in the United States.
Yes.
That we have pretty good explanation of the difference between different type of devices, including the table with technical characteristics.
Maybe we can make it a PDF so people can download it from here. I got a copy of it. I got to read it. It's a great book.
We actually, that can be bought from our website. We are not going yet to do it on a PDF because we want to make sure that all our rights are actually secured.
Yes.
So we are working on a couple of legal points, and then after that we may put it as a PDF so people can download it.
Okay, nice.
At the moment, we do not want to give anyone the opportunity to use this information, not because we are some kind of very much protective on the product, but pretty much we want to make sure that people really understand what is written in there.
Yeah.
Because a lot of terminology which we use in this book must be actually used, and I would say that folks over here must be kind of educated on that, because I found out a lot of different phrases, allegations, which are far away from the real meaning of what people use as the wordings.
Yeah.
So that's why we're trying to be careful on that. So coming back to the type of devices, so there are two type of devices in the United States which could be considered as a cryo. However, on the engineering point of view and actually considering the results which we can get out of those devices, one type is cryo devices and the other type is cold devices. The difference is simple. The cold device will never get to the required temperature, and here we have to be sure that we understand that to get to the cryo zone and to get cryo effect out of the cryo procedure, or as we call it, cryo cycle. So we need to make sure that the customer, or let's say the body, stays in the temperature below minus 166 Fahrenheit for at least 1.5 minutes. So the experience that we have shows that the best results we can get if the customer is under the temperature minus to 10 Fahrenheit for approximately a minute. If device will not provide, let me rephrase it, if device may not provide such a temperature for the customer, that will be a very nice cold procedure, but it will never get any results as cryo procedure actually supposed to give. So the difference between cryo device which can get to that temperature and the one which we call cold device is simply in the cooling agent. So those devices which are used cold air, they are just big refrigerators.
Yeah.
And in any way you will not be able to provide the low temperature for the whole period of 1 minute to the body, because engineeringly these devices cannot convect the hot air out of the room because room is closed. So, and even if you may have the temperature approximately minus 110, 120, which is the lowest ISO in such devices, at the beginning of the procedure, as soon as several people step in, the temperature will immediately go up because there is no way how to withdraw the heat out of the surface of the human body in that particular model and withdraw it out of the room. That means that actually the hot temperature or the heat, let's say, of the human body will mix with the cold of the device, and it gets to some kind of average level,
Yeah.
which rise up the temperature almost immediately.
That reminds me of the walk-in electric ones. I've done
That's
some of those,
exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. So that's why we never consider those devices as a cryo devices.
Yeah.
So, however, even the devices which are using liquid nitrogen, actually gasiform nitrogen, to make the procedure, real cryo procedure, they still have two different types. So one type, as we call, with active vaporizer, and the other one is without vaporizer, or we call it passive vaporizer. So active vaporizers devices are the devices which have a special aggregate inside the device, which uh, gets liquid nitrogen, makes gasiform nitrogen out of that liquid nitrogen, deliver this gasiform nitrogen into the cabin, turn it around the human body inside the cabin, and then withdraw it back into the vaporizer, where it mixes with the liquid nitrogen, get it back to the gasiform level of the certain temperature that we need, and delivers back to the cabin. And that goes on the circle for the whole period of the procedure. So that is the best of the engineering decision or solution I ever saw in the cryo industry. Why? Pretty simple. First of all, you reuse the gasiform nitrogen which gets to the cabin. You do not withdraw it from the cabin outside to the out air. You return it back to vaporizer, mix it with the liquid nitrogen, create, which vaporizer I mean, creates the certain temperature gasiform cloud, so to say, and put it back to the cabin. Besides, because active vaporizer always makes some kind of air move, or let's say nitrogen cloud move inside the cabin, which we call tornado effect. So this type of move around the human body inside the cabin withdraw the temperature from the surface of the skin of a human body almost immediately. That means that you can reach the temperature on the skin surface of the human body almost 0 Celsius, or let's say around minus 32 Fahrenheit, in only 30 seconds after the procedure starts. So that means that actually the whole procedure in that type of device could be shortened to 2.5 minutes if the device is working properly. So that helps, first of all, to shorten the period of time for human being in this device, which will not make it that much uncomfortable as other devices. And we will come back to that point later, what kind of uncomfortability it could happen. So, and second, of course, since you reuse nitrogen, you have a lot of savings on using the cooling agent, which liquid nitrogen, and that's already economic part of the beauty of this type of engineering decision.
Yeah, yours reuses nitrogen. Not many of the machines do not reuse nitrogen.
These devices, which are with the same type as mine device, which we call active vaporizer, such as Titan from Finland, Juka from Poland, Cryomet and Cryon from Eastern Europe, means from Ukraine and from Russia, they are all using active vaporizer.
Okay.
So they are good devices. They are a little bit slightly different on engineering than our devices, mostly on software, and a little bit also different on hardware. So because we have 2-speed motors which allow us to generate cold environment quite fast on the first part of the procedure, and then the motor start spinning slowly, and we still able to keep the temperature inside the device at a certain level, but we do not push too much nitrogen in. So it means because of this solution we can keep the target temperature, as we call, like for example minus 240, very much close to this target. So it means it could be between minus 230 and 250. If you do not have this kind of control, usually your let's say range of temperatures in the cabin could become from minus 210 to minus 270, which is not very good for the body, and definitely not good from the economic point of view, because you use much more nitrogen. So the other type of devices which will not be as much good as the devices with active vaporizer, we call them passive vaporizer or no vaporizer. So passive vaporizer, it's a Polish cabin cryonists. They use some kind of a grill inside the device, where they put nitrogen on top of the grill, and while liquid nitrogen goes down on the grill, several fans just simply push this gasiform nitrogen into the cabin from both sides of the shield. So that's pretty good concept, except as I say, two problems. First of all, they do not reuse nitrogen, and second, they push nitrogen from both sides of the shield. They do not have the effect of tornado. So it works, yes, it works. But the biggest problem with that things for the customer is that these devices, they have a very low temperature on the bottom of the cabin, and not that much on the upper part of the cabin. So it means above your belly button, on abdomen and up, you have temperature approximately minus 190 at the moment, when down there below your knees the temperature can become minus 270.
Yeah, and many of the cryo machines, they're colder at the waist or lower, because the gas is heavier than air too, so it's a challenge.
Absolutely.
And you've resolved this by making the tornado effect in your
exactly.
machine. And I have not noticed any other machines having this tornado.
Except Juka and Titan.
Oh, okay.
That's what I say. So and devices from former Soviet Union, which is Cryon and Cryomet.
Okay.
So we used to import Cryomet and Cryon. They're pretty good devices. However, you know that the technic progress goes forward. These devices are very good, but they are dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So we need to move forward. So our device is much smaller. We actually created the unit which has bigger size inside the cabin, so you can use it for the big guys like football players, basketball players, and at the same time the whole footprint of the device much smaller than the footprint of Cryomet or Cryon. So devices, Juka is very good device. I would say it's the best on the market after mine, of course. So, but the problem with Juka is also size. It has smaller cabin itself.
It's a very big machine.
And it's very big itself, and it cannot be actually put apart enough to fit the standard openings of the United States standards.
Of doors.
Of doors, windows, any other kind of openings.
Okay.
So our device was made the way that when you put it on 4 parts, door, cabin, upper box and lower box, you can actually fit any standard openings without any problem.
Nice.
So, and I know about that because I installed several Jukas, and one of them to be installed we had to remove the whole wall. So to move it in, and then wall was rebuilt.
Wow.
So that's one of my bad experience about that. But
yeah.
The rest, Juka is very good machine. And
yeah, every time I have to install a cryo machine, it's a challenge. You have to tilt them to the side to get them to go under the door, and be very careful. Sometimes remove the frames or remove the door.
Yes, and that's actually my experience also. And you know that I'm installing devices since 2010.
You've installed maybe 100 devices or more, right?
No, more than that. More. So installing, moving, including all this big cryo boom in the NBA. So we installed for 6 big basketball teams, football team, baseball team. So one of my very first device was installed with LA Dodgers. So we have a lot of experience.
The first device was the LA Dodgers.
My first device for the sport team.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So then, when we were already working as a Millenium-Ice partners, we installed for Houston Rockets, Phoenix Suns, San Antonio Spurs. We installed 2 devices for New York Knicks, one in Tarrytown, their training facilities, and the other one in the Madison Garden. So we installed a lot, and we have also a lot of devices installed in Canada, Vancouver area, Victoria Island, Toronto area, so Montreal, Winnipeg, yeah, it's plenty.
And it's every year you're making constant improvements. I mean, I've noticed your machines for 7 years I've known you, and I've seen them get gradually better every year.
We're working every moment, every second, making them better and better. And I'm telling that the vaporizer that we have right now is way more modified and more advanced than those vaporizers that we used in the devices which we imported from Ukraine and Russia, and even more advanced than from the one that we first produced in the United States. Yeah. They're smaller, they're more efficient, they consume less electricity, they consume less nitrogen, and they stay longer, which is also very important. So these devices, like for example Cryonis and the other device which has no vaporizer at all, it's Impact Cryo. So these devices are, they may work longer because they don't have that many sophisticated pieces inside. But because
I'll
of
post
that,
a picture of it for people on the video later so they can see how simple the inside of the Impact is compared to the others where the vaporizer has all of this technology, and the Impact is just simply some nozzles with nitrogen.
And that's very important to understand, that simplicity in this particular case is not good, because it's the same, like for example, if you want, let me put very simple example, like with vehicles, for example. If you want to make a very good and nice vehicle for the far drivings, and just to make it more simple, you take off cruise control. So then immediately this vehicle, even though it looks like a vehicle, but you cannot drive it too far because you will be simply tired just having your right foot always on the accelerator pedal.
Yeah.
So very simple example. Yes, very simple thing, just cruise control. Take it off, everything is the same, but it's already completely different vehicle.
Yeah.
For the purpose we are talking about, for just driving inside the city, that's fine. But if we're talking about long run drive, you will immediately understand that cruise control is very important. So it's here. As soon as you have a vaporizer, which can create tornado effect, and which is also very important, that the temperature on the upper part of the cabin and the lower part of the cabin does not have that big of a difference, which we call gradient of the temperature inside the cabin. That's also a very important thing, because when you have somebody sitting in the cabin for 2.5 minutes and the legs are completely frozen and the upper part, including shoulders, are barely frozen, so definitely it's not a cryo procedure. It's a cold procedure. Yeah. You will not get a proper effect out of that.
It's great for sore knees.
Huh?
It's good for sore knees. I always tell
people. Still, but we're talking about whole body cryotherapy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
If you need just to work it for knees, you can use localized device.
Yeah.
So that will be much easier and much more effective and efficient. But if we're talking about the effect of cryotherapy, whole body cryotherapy, you need to have approximately the same temperature on your feet level and on your shoulder level.
Yes.
If you do not have it like that, that's already not a cryo procedure, and that's where the problem with Impact Cryo. Impact Cryo does not have any kind of blow-in system. You remember I told you that another thing which has passive vaporizer, it's a cryoness, where they have a grill and they have 6 motors, 3 on each side, which blows inside. So we call it passive vaporizer because it does not make any tornado effect and it does not reuse nitrogen.
Yeah.
So, but still, at least some kind of move inside you can reach, or you can, let's say, get out of there. So with impact device, um, there is no move inside at all.
Yeah, I
They
call
just-
it
they just
direct
simply
exposure
feel-
to nitrogen. The way I think of it is like direct exposure to nitrogen with impact. It's just exposing you to nitrogen directly. There's no vaporizer.
The
And the
yes,
other
it's
one is like a
no
little more
vaporizer.
indirect, less direct exposure to the liquid, more time to make it gas when you use a vaporizer, right?
Yes, we need just to keep in mind one more thing, that the only thing which is in between the customer and the liquid nitrogen is a very small shield inside the impact cryo. So that's why if the pressure in the pressurized tank will be quite high, it is a possibility that people may be actually hit by drops of liquid nitrogen, which makes them very uncomfortable inside impact. So if you have vaporizer, like we're talking about devices of passive or active vaporizers, so then there is no way liquid nitrogen can reach human body, because liquid nitrogen sits only inside the vaporizer. Out of vaporizer, using very sophisticated engineering solution, liquid becomes gasiform and then it blows inside. It is delivered, let's say, delivered into the cabin only in gasiform stage. No way liquid nitrogen can reach the human being
And
body.
that's safer, obviously.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But even with that, there's still risk. People have to be dry when they get in because it's still negative 200 degree gas nitrogen, so it's very cold. Still take it seriously. And
Yes, we have always remembered that the temperature minus 250 actually quite critical for people.
yeah,
But at the same time, we remember that if you put somebody driving a nice vehicle without proper teaching and let's say without driver license, he will become a killer
exactly.
also.
I always use this metaphor with people when they're like, "Oh, the cryo machine, it will work forever now." I'm like, "Well, it's like car. You know, you have to change your oil. You know, there's maintenance."
Not only, but you also need to know that your driver knows what to do. So that's why, since, as I say, as you actually mentioned, and I agree, minus 270, 260, 250, okay, cryo temperatures, they are pretty much dangerous for the people. We need to make sure that those who provide procedures must be certified. They must know what to do. They must know what to actually, what kind of measures, what kind of action they have to take if it's any problem.
Yeah.
So we do not want to have anything happen like it happened in Nevada a couple of years ago, when a young lady who was an operator of the device, Juka device by the way, so she broke all the rules and regulations and she tried to do procedure to herself, which caused death to her.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure all our customers and all our operators, they know that they do something in accordance with regulations which help them to avoid any kind of problem and troubles like that.
Yeah.
Yes, because yeah, you're right. Cold temperature is a cold temperature. If you keep somebody inside the cabin for 5 seconds or 5 minutes instead of 3 minutes, like we have by instructions with our devices, you will definitely find this person with a lot of damages, cold damages. And we have plenty of examples in the United States and even big lawsuit cases when the operator who was not properly trained burned the customers to the very severe damage level. So as an example, one of those lawsuit cases is a lawsuit in New York with Equinox Club, where the lady was severely damaged in the cabin just simply because the operator wasn't properly trained and certified. So that's, we need to keep it in mind always. It is dangerous.
Yeah.
It is very good for people if people are using it in a good way. So the pharmaceutical people, they say, keep in mind that any kind of pharmaceutical, like pills, whatever. Let me try to rephrase it. Any kind of medication which may be helpful for you will become poison if you use it not the right way.
Yes, of course.
Same here.
So I don't mean to bounce around, but I wonder, do you have any idea how? So this was developed by this doctor in Japan in the 70s. How did it go from Japan to then somehow the former Soviet Union had it in the early 80s? Like, do you know the story?
Yes, it's actually it's not absolutely accurate the way it is shown on the public so far. The cryo, as it is, it was actually pretty well known from like 5-6 thousand years ago when the Egyptians and Greeks, by the way, mm, when they try to uh, bring somebody to the level of guru, or let's say uh, prophets.
Yes, in your book you said there's some Egyptian temple of prophets, and they put something into the cold before they can join this.
They put it to the cold, they put to the level when the body start getting some kind of let's say actions or activities with the brain on subconscious level, to see if these people indeed could become prophets or the leaders of the tribes, let's say, whatever you can call it. So that's where cryotherapy actually came out from the first place. When we're talking about Dr. Amauchi from Japan, and this is approximately the last part of 70s, last century, like 1975, 76, 78, 7 and 8. So he used the cryo as a pain management, first of all, because when he treat his patients for arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, that's all very painful procedures. So he found out that if he put somebody in a very cold environment, then after that people become less tolerant to the pain because of endorphins, which is they also called as a hormones of happiness. So when you freeze somebody, endorphins actually rush into the bloodstream and they create some kind of euphoria, and people do not feel pain. And that's how Professor Amauchi, on the first place, used the cryo effect in his practice, medical practice. But then he started seeing the other type of results of cryo, like for example the fastest inflammation cure, joint destruction cure, any kind of physical damages, healing. So, and he found out that if properly used cryo along with the other treatments, so those other treatments results are much higher.
Mm-hmm.
So then, but he was working only with the walk-in devices, which is actually not very easy to keep for a lot of people ready at any moment, and that actually means that he wouldn't be able to get enough statistics to create some kind of a concept. So then this cryotherapy idea came to Poland in 1984, I believe. That was the first device which was made in Poland, which looks like a telephone booth. So which you step in and it's completely closed chamber, and definitely they do not use nitrogen because you cannot breathe nitrogen inside the closed chamber. But since the chamber was much smaller, they got in Poland the much lower temperature inside the cabin, which increases the results, positive results of the procedure. Then little bit later, I believe in the 80s, beginning of 90s, in Germany and at the same time in Russia, in St. Petersburg, there was made the first cryo device which used nitrogen. And since then, uh, only those devices which can really bring the environment to very low temperature very fast using nitrogen as a cold agent. So only after that uh, phenomena found, so all the rest of the cryo devices will be considered cryo if they use nitrogen.
Yeah, and every customer I've ever seen, they've done one electric one before, and they'll try nitrogen. And they're, oh wow, this is way colder.
It's not only way colder, that's only one way how you actually can get the positive cryo effect. So once again, we have to keep in mind that even a cold water, or let's say ice tub, it's something which make you feel flying after you're out of there.
Yeah, I took a cold shower this morning.
Yeah, or a cold shower. Yeah. But I can tell you that the cryo effect cannot be reached if you do not have two things: the very low gradient of temperatures inside the cabin from shoulder level to the feet level, and also it definitely must be below 166, and it's very important to have tornado effect, because tornado effect helps to withdraw heat much faster from the skin surface than any other.
Yeah, it's like wind
solution.
chill. It makes perfect sense because it's
yeah, it just blow out the heat, because body produce heat all the time, and if the nitrogen cloud that you are staying in actually does not move, so you will create
you make a
microclimate on top of your skin, and that's no procedure anymore. It's just fake of the procedure. And that's why you never understand why you are not getting to that point. You're trying to get there, but you will not, because simply you do not follow up with simple rules that you have to follow.
Yeah, and in your book you say there's like three main effects from the cryo effect, or getting in the cryo zone where we're below this temperature for 90 seconds. It's a subconscious effect.
No, it's not like that. So we have, it's once again, it's a concept of Ayurveda. You remember I told you in the beginning that from the Ayurveda standpoint or point of view, I would say, our body consists of three main levels. So it's a biochemical level, it's energetic level, and informative level.
Yes.
That's three main, let's say, parts which our whole body consists of, and that's three different levels how cryo impact the human body.
Yes.
So on the level of on biochemical level, we're talking about the bloodstream inside our body, and the, we call it blood network, if you want it to be like that. So we're talking about veins, arteries, venolas, arterioles, capillaries. That's where the blood circulates. So the energetic level is almost the same, but instead of blood, we're talking about the circulation of energy inside the body, and instead of arteries, veins, venolas, arterioles, and capillaries, we're talking about meridians. So those who are familiar with acupunctures or acupuncture itself, so they understand what meridians are. That's how our energy blows or goes around our body. So why it's important? Simply because if you do not let energy go through your body in the right way and right direction, so then the any kind of biochemical part of your body, organ, like for example liver, kidney, heart, without energy they will start stagnate, and you will not even understand what's going on until it will manifest itself on biochemical level. For example, when you have physical pain in your liver, so it means that it's already, unless of course it's a physical damage like maybe car crash or any other accident. So if you start feeling bad with your liver, your heart, your kidney, it does not mean it's happened yesterday. It means you lost your energy flow far back on the time, and that means actually that the stage you are at the moment is a result of what was happened a long time ago. So that's why acupuncturists, even though a long time ago, let me rephrase it, Just recently, they are considered as a medical doctors. Before they were some kind of voodoo, but they did a great job on our bodies because they could find where the energy is clogged, and using this needle therapy, moxotherapy, any other type of therapy on the energetic level, or let's say acupuncture practice, they unclog that places. Energy start flowing again, and your internal organs on biochemical level start feeling better. Same like, for example, if you have the river, the mountain river, and the water over there you can drink and enjoy. But as soon as beaver will stop the river, after a while that lake will become with a lot of stuff inside, and you cannot drink that water anymore because it's already stagnated, and after a while it will become green color, with a lot of stuff inside there. So that's the same thing, and as soon as you destroy this barrier which beavers put on the river, after a while your river once again clear and you can drink this water. Same here. Energy is the same as the water on the mountain, which you either can drink and enjoy, or you cannot drink and then you have a problem. So I understand that all these examples are really require pretty good imagination,
Yeah.
but people must try to understand that, because there is nothing very easy, but as soon as they try, they can achieve and reach. So, and the third level is informative level. That's the same exact network or net inside our body, but not for the blood and not for energy. That's for information. It's a nerve system. So the most important for any doctor to be a good doctor is to properly diagnose what kind of a problem the patient has. So that's the first step that doctor must be capable of, just to find out what the problem is. But it's pretty hard to do. So when we are putting our body under the environment of very low temperatures, on subconscious level, our body try to scan ourselves or itself and to see where the problem is. And on that level, at subconscious level, the body will find the problem with 100% positive result. No doctor can do that. Even a person himself on a conscious level cannot do that. Indian yogas, they can do that when they put themselves on the special stage. But cryo helps us actually to awake our self-regulating abilities and self-testing abilities or self-diagnostic abilities, which were given to us by nature, but with living in this environment, with this society, with that kind of food that we eat, with that kind of drink we drink, smoking, having drugs, breathing pollutions, we are losing these abilities. So cryo helps us to regain it, to restart this mechanism. That's how cryo works, especially on informative level. If you ask the top of the doctors in the world how immune system works, nobody will answer you, because nobody knows. Everybody knows that it works because we have results, but nobody knows how it works, except maybe on a biochemical level. They will tell you that as soon as immune system finds somebody or some, let's say, kind of intruders, they will create some kind of action against this intruder. It's a phagocytus, it's a special molecules, or let's say molecules. I do not want to go deeply discussing these very, let's say, medical points. And that phagocytus can go and find the virus or bacteria and kill it. Once again, I'm not saying I'm speaking in a very correct medical terminology, simply because there is no terminology like that, except on biochemical level. But we know it works. And if immune system works and we know we can stimulate it somehow, then it means that cryotherapy may be considered as a good stimulator for that. Why? Simply because, as I mentioned earlier, cryotherapy can put us on the level, or let's say on the stage, where our body on subconscious level will take care of itself. And in that particular moment, we do not even feel it. Yes, we feel we are in a cold environment, but since the environment is very cold and the combined cold signal which goes from all the cold sensors on our skin is very severe, so brain understand that it's already almost dead condition, and it start work very efficiently trying to help itself to survive, even though, as I say, we do not even feel it. And that's already informative level. Another thing which is important, or let's say interesting at least to know about the informative level or information level, is a phantom pain. So that's what we know, that's what I know as my experience from the past, where the veterans were treated from phantom pain. And if you know phantom pain, it's a kind of like a feeling that extremity which was lost still there, and it continuously in pain or itching. So people cannot stay too long with that kind of pain. They need to get on drugs, they need to get psychological help, because they always consider that it's still there and they cannot get rid of these feelings. So if we provide proper, let's say, line of sessions for such a person, so on subconscious level our brain always try to check on our body, simply to try to find where the biggest problem is and how to redirect the efforts of the body towards the place where the problem is the best, the highest or the biggest. At the same time, when the brain sends a signal through the nerve system to that extremity which is not there anymore, then there is no answer from there, and brain will put some kind of a barrier on the direction of any signals that nerve system can transport to this extremity, and inside itself it will put it like it is not there anymore. Then after a while, because of that, I would say, phenomena, so people start getting better and better because they already do not feel like they have this extremity anymore. To make a very interesting example for people to understand, same like an old hard drive. So when you do hard drive check and you have bad clusters, so the computer can see the bad cluster, and then on the map of addresses this cluster will be marked as bad. So the hard disk will become smaller on the capacity because of bad clusters. But since in the address list we do not have access to these bad clusters, this hard drive is still very healthy. You can operate it. If you do not have this done in the old hard drives, and for some reason your application, your program, tried to reach the address of a bad cluster and it will not understand that it's a bad cluster, then you have the glitch in your computer. That's exactly the same thing. So our brain starts scanning ourselves, and if there is no extremity in there, it will mark it as a bad cluster.
Yeah, makes sense. I've seen people feel better from phantom pains, and I used to have a lot of nerve pain, and cryo helped me with my own nerve pains.
Yes, and we know about that because, as I say, being ex-military officer, I've been through many different things, and I saw people who are suffering from some phantom pain, and I know the results after the treatments. Once again, keep in mind it also, or not, let me rephrase it, it can be reached only if you have real cryo procedure. Once again, the gradient of temperature must be not more than 5 degrees, maximum 10 degrees between level of feet and the level of shoulders. And definitely it must have the temperature as low as required by cryo concept, which means below 166 Fahrenheit. That's
in the chamber, right?
inside the chamber, yes. And as I mentioned earlier, definitely by experience that we have, the best range of temperatures to get the best out of cryo is between minus 250 and minus 230. That's the best range.
Okay. For 90 seconds.
That will be enough even for 1 minute, 60 seconds. But once again, it depends what kind of device you have.
So
if you have a tornado device, it can lower down the temperature with only 30 seconds to the certain level. And if you have, let's say, 2.5 minutes, even 2 minutes, so that means that your procedure is very well made.
I've heard it's like our skin starts out at about 80 to 90 degrees, and the goal is to get it to drop down into the 40s kind of uniformly or as close to freezing as possible, because we can't make our skin below freezing.
Actually, you can. The temperature of skin can go down to 30 degrees because it's the same phenomena as you can see on the oceans. The temperature in the ocean can be below 0 Celsius, but it's not frozen
salt,
because salt, and that's
we are same ratio as ocean.
Absolutely, that's important to remember. That's why when you have sweat on you, that's fine. You can go, when you sweat, you can go inside, and it will just simply calmly become dry when you're inside the sauna. But what you cannot go is any kind of lotion. You cannot go because lotion will become a very good conductor between the surface of skin and the outer temperature. And where your lotion was, you will have it frozen.
Including coconut oil.
Oh, absolutely.
We say no lotion or coconut oil because no, I don't use lotion. I use coconut oil.
Yeah, that's very, very unusual situations time to time. You know, it's like it reminds me the nice movie, My Fat Greek Wedding. One very interesting point at the moment was that the lady asked the guy to come in and join for the food and say, okay, I will cook you wonderful meat food. So, I do not eat meat. You do not eat meat? Okay, I'll cook lamb. Same here.
Yeah.
No oil, coconut oil or lotion. It's the same lotion.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I wonder, what's the biggest thing you've learned in the past 10 years from going from importing machines to making them? And then also, where do you see this going in the next 10 years? I know it's a big question, but we've been here for an hour and I kind of want to wrap up with like, what's the biggest thing you've learned and what do you see coming?
Okay, so two things I can definitely say. That first, which is most important, that this alternative way how to help the human being body to stay healthy and as a result wealthy. So that's already the fact that everybody knows. And the level of educated in this industry population of Europe and the United States rising up all the time. The good thing is that we did not get any kind of severe resistance from the authorities in the United States against this kind of, let's say, health improvement approach.
Yeah, 501(c)(3) excluded medical device, as we say.
Yeah, that's what we say also. And on the beginning,
device, yeah.
On the beginning, I had a lot of discussions with the Canadian Standard Association, with Health Department, Texas Health Department. We had a lot of letters moving back and forth. But finally, we agreed that as through the last discussion, I said, okay, I will agree to consider this device as a medical device if you will force everyone to consider iStop as a medical device, because it's the same exact concept but just different approach.
Yeah.
So and finally we decided that we have to get to some kind of conclusion. So now the only thing we have to follow up in this industry is just simply to make all the operators properly trained, so for sure they will not hurt our customers.
Yes, and that's a challenge because there's so many different machines. There's a few hundred of the M-Cryos, there's a few hundred of the Impacts, there's a few hundred of the CryoSciences, there's a few hundred of the Jukas, all throughout the US, maybe a few thousand different machines from 6 to 10 different manufacturers, and they all have slightly different operating procedures, but
That's true.
there is some overarching safety that we need to agree on.
That's true. The only thing that we still have to consider that any kind of device which we're talking about, they're cryo devices. We're not talking about any other devices, just cryo. And since they are all operate under the same concept, that means there is a program for operators, and if they're passing the exams after that program, all that operators can operate any device. The only slight difference could be which button to push, but conceptually, they're all the same.
Yeah, I agree. That would be great if we could agree on some, like, very clear.
And that's what we are working right now, right as we speak, just next door. One of my engineers, he's making the transparent pictures, diagrams of devices. So right now he's working on Cryonis. As soon as it's done, so we will have the next book, which will show all the devices from inside, how they work, how a tornado works, how shields working and all that stuff. So just not only to educate people which device to use to get proper procedure or let's say proper results, but also for operators to make sure they are in the understanding of the concept of cryo devices a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
In that case, they feel more comfortable in any kind of situation.
Nice, I agree. It's more, we need to get more information about the differences in the machine so people can make better decisions.
Yes, and that's also another thing that's right now in progress. So we have several requests from customers who used to use one type of devices, and then they use another type of device, and then they start feeling what the difference is, and because of that personal experience, they understand that this procedure actually brings them to that feeling that's supposed to be rather than the other, and they start asking legal questions. So if they pay for a year in their location for cryo procedure, and because the device which was used there was not actually cryo device, procedure may not be considered as a cryo, so they want to ask for the refund from that location. That's another thing which actually we need to take into the consideration. We need to educate people to make sure they understand what they are buying. So
Yeah.
rather than to have a lot of eggs on the face of the whole industry because somebody called his procedures cryo, indeed being not a cryo.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you understand
Oh,
what
I
I'm
do.
trying
Yeah,
to say.
it's like there's cryogenic gas. So if it uses cryogenic gas, is it cryo? You're saying no. It's only cryo if it goes below the temperature of
Yeah.
negative 160 for at least 90 seconds. Or it's just
Several
cold
very
procedure.
important points that you have to reach.
60 seconds, right? Mm-hmm. So people can find more information about the machines that you have made at your website, right?
We do not provide any information, technical information, on our website, but on the website they can go and get our books.
Okay.
So the reason we tried, as I mentioned earlier, we do not want to give it on the PDF format so people won't use it at the moment without understanding what
Okay.
they're using. And also the book is made the way that it has a lot of empty pages. So if it's for the operator, so they always can make their notes
Mm-hmm.
inside the book, and that will become not only informative book, not only the source of information, but also can be like a workbook.
Yeah.
So that's how we try to make it.
Okay, and then also, so at our website, Cryozone Machines, we have some information about like the specs, like the size of your machine, so that people can compare it to some of the other machines we talked about, like Impact, and they can see all the weight, the size, and some of the different features. And I think that they can also find some information about your machine and your business at, is it Millenium-Ice.com, or what is the website?
It's M-Cryo.
M-Cryo.com.
www.mcryo.com.
Okay, wonderful. And I really appreciate you taking the time to meet with me today, Alexander. It's been nice.
It's a big pleasure.
Yeah, I've known you for 7 years. You're my introduction to this industry. And it's funny, every time I meet people, you're this common source of the introduction for everybody to the industry.
I'm trying to be, because this industry for me is like my child, so I want it to be happy.
Yes, although there is one thing. I know we're ending, but we can say this ends now. But I want to go back. There was one question. Do you have any idea how, like, the idea traveled from Japan to Europe? Like, because we always have this story. Oh, Yamaguchi invented it, and then all of a sudden now we have cryo. Like 78 to, like, did Poland figure out about the studies in Japan, or was it people just all knew the history because we, Greek cryotherapy? It comes from cold therapy. They got in ice water.
There is a gap actually in the information that I have between 1978 and 1984. So I do not know exactly how it came into Europe this time. But what I'm saying is simply that it was very well known in Europe for ages.
Yeah.
Japanese Professor Yamauchi just used something from Europe in his location. Not opposite. It was not innovated there.
Oh, okay.
He just used it before than the others.
Oh, and made the first studies on it.
Yes, and it's very important to remember that the biggest push of the cryo around the Europe, even I would say the whole world, was the Olympic Games of 2002, I believe, or 2000 in Sydney. And there was a kind of like a pilot program through that Olympic Games period. So couple of cryo devices were set in the same area where the other medical help, let's say, facilities were made for the cases of traumas and all that stuff through the Olympic Games. So, and there was a choice for people or for athletes. Either they go under the usual recovery program if they have any kind of trouble, especially on run, 100 meters, 400 meters run, and 400 meters with hurdle, how you call it? Barriers, hurdles. So, and the results were very, very exciting. So people who were going through the cryo concept, or let's say cryo set of procedures, they were recovering 40% faster. So, and one of my very good friend, I would say, he was a silver medalist on speed walking. So he actually became a silver medalist, a second level, how you call it, silver medal. So, but only 2 years before that, on a car crash, he actually destroyed his leg. And nobody believed he could even walk, not participate in the Olympic Games. And his name is Igor Sfadeevs. You can find him on the internet quite easy. And because he used to work on the rehabilitation in the program with cryo, that's his story. It's not my story. That's what he told. So 2 years later, he became a silver medalist on the Olympic Games.
Wow.
And he brought this story to people there. He was the one who, how to say it, who bring this idea to the sport community. And I believe that he was even one of those who sponsored these rehabilitation centers on the Sydney Olympic Games camp. So that's how the cryo concept as a health supporting system become like kind of spread it around the sport community, sport world, and through the sport world it started getting to the public.
Nice.
That's, I believe, how it spreads around the world.
Okay.
It's not from Yamauchi, it's from athletes.
Okay. And that didn't really happen until the 2000s with the Olympics, like you said.
After 2000, it spreads around the world.
Mhm.
But there was, this concept was very much in use before 2000, as I say, for the military, veterans rehabilitation, any other kind of, let's say,
Sounds like it-
special services.
It's because you say Germany too, injured in Germany and USSR. So I'm thinking military figured it out between 78 and 84, and then public started
No,
to-
78 it was the Yamauchi when he started using it as a pain management. So for the rehabilitation, I believe in Europe they start using it after 84.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's what I say. I do not know exactly how it was related between Japan and Europe, but I didn't find any information, solid information about use of cryo before 84 in Europe.
Okay. Yeah, neither have I. It's just this funny gap. We all tell the story the same way, but it doesn't really. It's never made that much sense to me. I'm happy to hear that it also doesn't make sense to you.
So
You always said the Russians stole it.
No. Well, it's also he said Germany too. It's I don't know. It's like it's kind of funny. Like there's no clear link from Yamaguchi or Japan to anybody in Europe that I can
I
see.
believe it's through the Eastern Europe because when it was Soviet Union, it gap itself. So whatever happened in there, nobody knows. So I believe it gets through that. And by the way, Russians, they do not need to steal. Everybody who invent Russia, actually they brought it in. So after Russians fight everybody back, that invention still with them.
This is good. Yeah. One other one. You brought one of the first machines to Nike, right?
Yes.
And they also did studies like in the 2010 time range.
Yes.
And that helped to create even more validity for the athletes.
Now I can tell you even a very interesting story.
Yes, please.
So Alberto Salazar, he is a leader of the Oregon project of Nike, whom I personally know very well. So he asked us to put this device just for a couple of weeks, only to test how his athletes, by the way, they are very elite athletes. Maybe you know that Mo Farah, the golden medalist of 2012 Olympic Games in London, that's his athlete. So, and also I would like to say that after 2012 Olympic Games, when it was the first seminar in Dallas that we actually served and hosted for the people, so Alberto Salazar sent us email saying thank you very much for cryo because it definitely helped my guys to win the gold medals. It was a very nice email from him. Yeah, and he asked us to put this device only for a couple of weeks. But after 2 days, I saw personally how athletes moved out ice tubs out of that place, and they say that never will come back here, only cryo now. So that was very exciting.
Nice.
So those, what I'm trying to say here, those who tried, from athletes, who tried cryotherapy at least once, and they realize how good is that, they never go back to ice tub.
Yeah, that's why LeBron James has one in his house.
Here we go.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much. Anything that you'd like to say that you think I missed anything or story you'd like to share?
I would just wish all of us to be very careful with this wonderful concept and do as much as we can to promote cryo concept for our folks. And we have always to keep in mind, if we are CryoSapiens, who we are now, we have to remember we are all very responsible for what we do. We are not allowed to make any wrong steps providing cryo service to our folks. We have to be 100% sure we know what we do.
Safety first.
Safety first.
CryoSapiens, which is Homo sapien who knows about cryo.
CryoSapiens.
So
yes.
now you are CryoSapiens with us. Yes.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Alexander.
Nice talking to you.
Yeah, you too. It was fun.
All right, now we can do cryo.
Huh?
I said now we can do cryo.
You can do. I most likely have to go.